guys, and welcome back to our world. I'm Reagan.
I'm Sam.
And he's going to be a guest on our podcast today. The style of this episode is going to be pretty much similar to kind of how Raleigh and I did our first episode with just like Q&A. Because I've known Sam for maybe like a month and a half now?
Maybe 2 months.
2 months? Okay, I've known him for 2 months. He's my personal trainer. So we'll kind of go into a quick little story about how I met him. Well, I met you off of Thumbtack? Yes.
Yeah.
Met him off of Thumbtack. So yeah, I've been working for him about 2 months. We've had like interactions briefly with each other, like during our little workout sessions, but I feel like now I want to take the opportunity to really get to know who Sam is as an individual. You know what I mean? Like really, really dig in there and just really get to know him.
Wow.
Yeah. So, okay. So as I mentioned, we're going to start off with some questions. Well, first, how I got to know Sam, and then we'll get into some questions. He has questions for me that I have no idea what he's going to ask me. I have questions for him that he has no idea what I'm going to ask him. And they're going to range from like serious to unserious. Are all of your questions serious?
There'll be a mix of it because I'm not a very serious person. So
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So my questions are some serious, some unserious, because I really feel like I just want to dig in deep, Sam. You know?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So as I mentioned, I met Sam on Thumbtack, and because I was looking for a personal trainer. Like I've been working out for like on my own for a minute now. I had like an Orange Theory membership. And then I was just like, you know what? Like I've been doing this, but I don't really feel like it's like hitting the exact goals that I really want. So then I was like, I really need to find somebody that can like coach me into what it is that I'm trying to achieve. And I don't necessarily have like the will and determination to like work out on my own consistently. So I pretty much was like, I need somebody to hold me accountable to like showing up to the gym, rather than me just like getting my own gym membership or going to like my apartment complex gym. Like, cause it's easy for me to just be like, yo, like, you know, I'm getting off of work. Let me just like make a margarita and call it a day. You know, that's like that's like literally like what I used to do in the past though.
Yeah.
So I feel like I needed somebody to just like hold me accountable. And that's one of the things that I told Sam. So after I found him on Thumbtack, he was like the number one person that was recommended. I'm like, okay, great. And then I like put in a little inquiry, and he like literally texted or called me like 5 minutes after I put the inquiry. And so I'm like, okay, cool. And then he had like this whole PowerPoint presentation that he put together showing me all these photos and showing me like different like workouts that he does and before and after pictures, and just like different, like whether that be like stretching, weightlifting, like cardio, stuff like that, and kind of asking me like what it is that I saw myself doing. And I was like, honestly, man, like I don't know, like you just tell me what to do and I'm going to do it. So then I think I went in the very next day for a 6 p.m. class, and he really put me to the test because I walked out of that class and sat in my car and just had to take like at least like 3 minutes to just like decompress with all that I just went through. Like it was actually like I had to just blast like all the fans and really just have a come to Jesus moment, because I was really going through it, and I was sore for several days after that. Now I'm at like a good pace where it's like I'm not as like I work out with you and I'm not as like, you know, fatigued. Yeah. But like when I first started out, like it was a lot. But yeah, Sam's been great to work with. If you guys haven't checked him out in the Tampa area, you should definitely do that. If you want to do a little plug, Project Stay Athletic. Yeah. He has a whole Instagram page, a whole website. If you ever see him in the gym, he has on PSA shorts. So that's also a way to know that that's him if you're ever at the gym and you know, wanting to work with him or whatever. Okay, so let's now get into the questions. Do you want to start off, or do you want me to start off?
You can start off. I've been sipping some of this the Devil's Kool-Aid that
it's not the Devil's Kool-Aid.
Now, so
I made him a drink.
And I'm typically a very sober person,
yeah.
So we'll see how this goes.
On to the next. All right, so I'll start off with my questions.
Hey, go ahead.
Do you want me to start off with like a little baby question right now?
You can start at whatever level you want to start at. You got the whole iPad out.
All right, I'll start off with whatever level. So maybe I'll like switch it up. So I think I'll start off with like, you know, maybe like a little medium level question.
Okay. Yeah, go for it.
So Sam, you're 30, right?
I'm 31 actually now.
31. Okay. So you're 31.
Yeah.
And you're single, right?
I'm actually recently single, actually, which is funny. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So how recent is this?
Let's see. As of like last Saturday, I would say.
Last Saturday.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like I think things were sort of moving apart anyways. So
we've been talking for like the past 2 months about how like you're like ex-girlfriend and shit like that. I had no idea.
Oh, but there's plenty of ex-girlfriends, so there's a lot of stories.
Okay.
But yeah, pretty much there's that. But all right, go ahead, finish your question.
So you're single as of what, last week? So you've been in a relationship this whole time? How did I not know about this girlfriend?
Well, because I feel like things were sort of growing apart, and I was like, well, let's just keep this as it is, or because I mean, I feel like things were like at a point where I think both of us maybe were feeling a way about things, and
okay.
I think it was more like I feel like it was something in the works for a while for both of us, and I think we probably just both felt we were growing apart enough to where it just ended up being a thing. And I think when I moved too, I think that also made it be easier for both of us to be like, maybe this doesn't make as much sense.
So she doesn't really live close to the Tampa area or something?
She lives in the Tampa Bay area, but she lives like probably like half an hour away from where I live at, or from
gotcha.
Like,
those long distance relationships, man. 30 minutes away. It's quite crazy. All right, so okay, so then that kind of like defeats my question, because if you were...
No, go ahead and finish. You just ask the question.
So, all right, so I was going to say, you're 30 and you're single.
Uh-huh.
Why? What about you scares the women away?
That's a funny question. I think it's because like the last time I went to the doctor, and I usually am really upfront with this when I like meet new women. I sort of tell them about this like disease that I have or whatever. And this is probably a weird turn that the podcast is going to take, but I guess I have to make it aware, because like me being one of the few people that have this, I figure I use this platform like
to raise awareness.
And
what's the disease, Sam?
The doctor said that I have
disease?
No, they said I have the swag flu, and I think essentially like sometimes it's overwhelming for like the young ladies to sort of take on. They're afraid if they're going to catch it, they're not even sure if they can handle it.
Gotcha.
Or whatever, and I think that's basically what tends to happen.
Wow. Okay, that's actually really, like, I can see that that's like a really serious disease to have.
Yeah.
Very serious.
But on a serious note, I guess I would say, I think because I'm very focused on my mission that I feel in life, and my mission being my business and where I want to get to ultimately in life, and not everybody wants to be that supportive person that is sort of second fiddle to the business or whatever. And I totally get it. Like, it's a lot to ask from somebody to be like, hey, like, you're going to be second to my business. You're not going to be as important as this or whatever. Which, I mean, but I feel like if somebody else also has a lot of things going on, and they have a business or they have like a career or something that they're trying to work towards, and they also are going to make that second to them or second to their partner, then I think that person will understand it. But I would say probably a lot of people wouldn't necessarily understand it. So then it probably makes for like some good tension in a relationship for sure.
Gotcha. Okay. So you guys had like, y'all were butting heads about things.
Towards like the back end of things, yeah, for sure. But I mean,
do you feel like it would have been a little bit easier, like maybe if you like trained her, that way you guys could spend more like quality time with her coming into the gym, and you know, and then it could have been like a little bit more like, yeah, like Sam's working on his personal training, but like at the same time, like I get to spend time with him because we're working out together, or like stuff like that.
Well, funny enough you said that, because a couple people that I trained that have met the last person would say something similar. They were like, oh, well, why wouldn't she just come into the gym and whatnot? I was like, well, I don't know, or whatever. So, yeah, I would say that. I mean, I feel like where there's a will, there's a way, and you can always find quality time to bond with people if that's a strong desire for you. But again, like, I mean, I'm not going to diss her or whatever.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
there's
she's
things,
a lovely lady.
Yeah, and there's things that I probably could have done better at.
What do you think you could have done better, Sam?
What could I have done better? I mean, God, someone who just gives it their all at every single.
And I'd also like to know what the cure to the swag flu is. I'd love to hear if there's a cure for that.
It's actually incurable. That's why I have to let them know about it. Actually,
all right, good to know.
So I mean, I definitely could have, and only because I've heard this in multiple relationships, that I could have listened better or whatever, or at least shown that I was listening better and been like more empathetic. And granted, I learned a lot of those skills. Because I have a business coach, I learned a lot of those skills like that he's sort of helped train me on, just because it helps when I'm meeting with like new clients or new potential clients. But I feel like maybe when I was trying to employ those skills within our relationship, it might have been a little bit too late, and she might have already maybe pegged me as a certain type of person or whatever. And even if I was trying to use those new like found skills, then it was like too late or whatever. And I totally get it too on her part too, because it's like, I mean, you spend a year and a half with somebody or whatever, and they're a certain way, and then like the last 6 months they're like being different, but you have a year and a half you have to sort of work on undoing. It's sort of it's like a lot. So
it's like the damage has been done at that point. Yeah,
pretty much. So
okay,
basically that.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so this is like a teeter-totter type situation, so now it's your turn to ask a question.
Okay.
Would you like put them on your friggin' Apple Watch or something?
Yeah. So let me just get this one here. Let me bring my glasses in here. Yeah. So why did you pick the University of Miami originally as your first school of choice?
Okay, good question. All right, so I chose Miami because, well, actually Georgetown was the first college that I really wanted to go to. And I didn't get into Georgetown, but I had visited DC so many times. I thought the campus was beautiful. I love the city of DC. And just a little plug, in 2 years I'm moving to DC, so that's also something too, because I just love the city and I just need to be there.
I respect. Okay.
Yeah, so didn't get into Georgetown, and then I don't know, I think at the time like I kind of decided that like I really wanted to be somewhere that was like, you know, innovative and like fun, and like, you know, just like being from Memphis, Tennessee, like things are kind of like, it's very like set in their ways there. Like there's not a lot of like development that you see happening on a consistent basis. And I'd always like gone to Miami like vacationing wise with my family, so I figured, okay, well, I've loved it vacationing there, so I'm gonna like love it going to school there. But I definitely did not, when I ended up going there, I definitely didn't hate it. Because, you know, I ended up transferring to Vanderbilt, or maybe you didn't know that, but you should have known that because I went to Vanderbilt. So
you told me that, yeah.
Yeah. So, I just kind of felt like I went to like private school my whole life, and I think going to Miami was just like a big culture shock for me, like in terms of like just like people were wanting to party all the time, and it just felt like very like materialistic, and it was kind of about like who you knew, what you could do for somebody. Like it wasn't really like that, like the environment just it didn't fit with like who I was at the time. Or even if it didn't fit at the same, like I don't think that I was ready to handle all that Miami had to bring, because it was just like it was a lot. Like I don't think that I had like grown and learned the world enough for me to be able to handle Miami. So then, you know, and I was very focused like on my on school when I was at Miami. So like literally I could probably count on like one hand how many times I like went out like anywhere, like to the club, like to a bar, like anything like that. I really mainly only stayed on campus. So then I ended up transferring to Vandy because, I mean, to be honest, like my boyfriend at the time went to Fisk University, which is also in Nashville. So it was kind of just like I would visit him for like all of my breaks, like spring break, fall break, winter break, whatever. And I would have like the best time with him and his friends. And I was like, okay, at the very least, I'm not really enjoying my Miami experience, but I'll like it because like he's there. Now we're no longer together anymore. So, you know, that's, you know, whatever. But it was what I needed to get there.
So you mentioned like Tennessee was like the Miami was almost like a culture shock compared to Tennessee.
Yes, for sure.
Like, tell me more about that.
Oh, okay. Well, Memphis is a very simple place. It doesn't really require much. It doesn't really do too much. Miami requires a lot, and it does a lot. Like you know, like I said, it's just very materialistic there. Like it just seems like it's all about like how flashy you can be. Like I know, like you know, even like when you're going to clubs, like if you don't look a certain kind of way, some of these clubs you're not getting into the club.
Yeah,
like,
I know, like I know some of the girls practice their twerks during the week for just the club on the weekends.
Who do you know that does that? You know people personally that do that?
I can pull up the Instagrams right now.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but in Memphis, it sounds like...
Do you train them?
Well, no, they live in Miami.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
But it sounds like in Memphis, it's like maybe like there's not as much of an emphasis on like the twerk.
To be honest, like there aren't really any places in Memphis really to go like that for you to even twerk. Like you might have the Weekend or like a couple other places like that, but they're like smaller. So you're not gonna see like, you know, how you go to like 11 or like Mr. Jones or like, you know, freaking Live and see like, you know, like a huge ass club with just like women. Like it's a very small, but definitely people in Memphis twerk for sure.
So Memphis is more like hoedown houses.
Hoedown houses?
Like instead of like clubs, it's like hoedown houses. Like you have like a couple, like your 5 closest friends, you guys just put on some country music and you just sort of...
I don't know of really anybody like that listens to country music like that in Memphis, Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
Now, maybe that's just the people that I hang out with, but no, if you want to talk about Tennessee, you could probably talk about Nashville. Now, we could talk about some hoedown houses in Nashville, Tennessee. That's one of the reasons why I didn't really care for Nashville, because I don't listen to country music like that. Me and country music, we don't go together.
Where's Vanderbilt located at?
In Nashville.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But Memphis is not, like, you have more, like, blues, like, you know, rap, like, stuff like that. Like, you know, some R&B here and there, like, yeah.
Okay.
But, yeah. That's it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that answers my question pretty much. That was a low tier question.
Low tier question. I figured. I was like, we could have gone a little harder. Okay.
Now, see, I like to come off the top of the dome. I'm like a battle rapper, so I want to make sure. I just want to match the energy of the question. Like, I have like a list of 1,000 questions in my head right now, but I'm just trying to categorize them based off the difficulty of the question.
So what level is coming next? If that was a level 1.
We'll see what the next level my next question
Are you basing it off of my questions? All right. Let me ask you this question. All right. So you're one of the most sarcastic and smart ass people that I know. What about your childhood made you this way? Oh my God. I can't.
I didn't think we were going to get into this. So anyways, no, I mean, my dad is like pretty much like very similar to me. So I feel like, and I was mostly, I was raised by both my parents, but I took more of a liking to my dad early on, me being a boy and having my dad. And, like when my parents sort of split in like 9th grade, I moved with him or whatever. So, yeah, like I just been around it my whole life. So it's like, I've been like used to it. And then speaking of like that sort of thing, I've been noticing the clock on the wall, but
the time isn't changing?
Yeah.
The batteries are out.
Okay.
And who fucking uses analog clocks anyways? It's more just for decoration, to be honest. Okay. I need to have something more.
Just take the hands off the clock then at that point.
No, you do that.
Okay. But yeah, so basically because of my upbringing with my father, and he was very sarcastic, and stuff like that. I feel like I sort of got that same sort of vibe. He was very jokey too, and I feel like that's also why I'm like that as well.
Gotcha.
So,
is this the moment like when you want to like plug your book, or like no? Is this not the moment to plug your book?
Or will we put it up on the screen if I?
Yeah, sure.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is you guys are in for a real treat. So my ebook is dropping, again, the remastered edition, with a couple of forwards from some of my closest friends and clients. Reagan, I might even have you write a forward in there. It's called Rich Bitch. It's sort of similar to Rich Dad Poor Dad, but it's a more urbanized version, and I would say it's sort of a coming of age tale to truly like inspire you to become your best self.
All right. So what lessons can we kind of, what are some key takeaways that we can like expect to kind of get from the book? That way, you know, the audience kind of knows like what they're going to get out of it, but also like more of a reason to buy the book from you. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So, first of all, the book was all ChatGPT inspired. But I sort of co-authored it along with ChatGPT.
Wow.
So it'll teach you, depending on how you want to read it, use the power at your own discretion. It'll teach you either how to avoid getting scammed, or it'll teach you how to become a scammer. No, I'm just kidding. But But no, it'll just teach you a lot of good life lessons and whatnot. Be on the lookout for it. I'll drop the link on my Instagram in the near
He
future.
says that it's on Amazon, and I haven't checked, but like.
Well, no, I just said it was dropping in a couple more months. The remastered edition.
And that's how you know he's full of shit, because the last time that he told me about this book was a couple weeks ago, and he said that it was on Amazon.
Well, I've had new life takeaways and lessons, especially
basically what he's trying to say,
so I had to take the
taking
old version
the bullshit
off.
out of it, is that the book doesn't exist. However, he does have a cover of the book created just for him to front to people, like he has the book actually done, and he has maybe like the preface like of the book, you know, done. That way people are like, oh, like the book is actually real, but it's not fucking real. It's not.
Well, so I'm really big on you make your own destiny. So you buy the book, you read the first chapter, and then the rest you write yourself. Because you know what? The biggest life lesson I've learned, you can zoom in on me for this one. This is powerful right here.
I don't think
I'm almost going to tear up when I'm thinking of this. The biggest life lesson I learned is you write your own story. Don't let somebody else tell you for it. A lot of times I buy books. I go in Barnes & Noble all the time. I buy books. I read the first chapter. I close it. And I say, I'm going to tell what the rest of this story is. Because...
Okay, so then what's the purpose of buying the book? Why spend the money on the book?
I just need to get started. But then I'm going to take the story where I need it to go.
Okay, so you can't just like go on Amazon and read like the sample of the book and then go from there. You actually have to buy the book yourself.
Well, I think buying it is sort of a flex, and then you sort of meet the bookstore.
So you buy the book as the flex to just say like, hey, like I have all of these books that I've read. Like, like look at me, like I'm a bookworm, like I'm smart, like
big
you know,
bookshelf
whatever.
behind you. Put that up on your Tinder profile. That does numbers. To be
really,
honest,
you would know. Have you experimented with that yourself?
Tinder?
Yeah.
If some of my teammates from college see this podcast, which I will notice, I think the last time I tagged you on Instagram, I think I did see some of them. I know one of them followed you. I saw a couple of them like the post or two. They used to call me, you know how they used to call Drake the Sixth God? They used to call me the Tin God back then, or whatever. Like Tinder, Tin God. I'm not even joking. This is, but anyway, so that was like a thing. That was a time in my past. I wasn't happy. I'm not proud of that moment, I guess you could say. But yeah, I've learned a lot of life lessons or whatever. I feel like Tinder ain't popping that much anymore. Maybe after you turn 30, it's not popping like that. So sounds like you have some experience.
Well, no, first of all, when Tinder first came out, because it was a legitimate dating app.
Was it that?
I went on Tinder. Yeah, I feel like people, because it was the only dating app that was really out there like that. Like Tinder was like the first one, besides like eHarmony, and I'm not gonna go on eHarmony.
So when I recall Tinder existing is I think my freshman year of college, and we went and played at a basketball tournament in New York, and one of the kids from the opposing team was like, I'm gonna censor the quote a little bit. Actually, no, I'm not gonna censor the quote. He was like,
if we need to bleep it out, we'll bleep it out.
Yeah, you gotta get on Tinder. This is where the are at or whatever. And I was like, well, me being a God-fearing young man, I said, I'm gonna run far from that app because I don't want to be anywhere where the are at. I want the nice young ladies. And then it was like, yeah, there's those two. So then I hopped on the app. But anyway, so basically, I always knew of Tinder as not a true dating app. I always knew of it as like an app where
hook up.
People used it for hooking up.
Okay, well, from my personal understanding, I didn't even know Tinder existed until like maybe my sophomore year of college.
So it's like 4 years ago?
No. That's like 8 years ago.
Oh. Okay.
Like 7-8 years ago.
Oh, yeah, it was popping
like
back then.
Like,
no, you're 25, right?
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm like, but 4 years ago. All right, never mind. Anyways,
I always figured that it was like a legitimate place to like meet people, because I didn't hear of any other dating apps that were even out like that like were like consumed by the masses. So obviously over a certain period of time, it's like, okay, you talk to enough people and that's pretty much the vibe that you're getting. So then Tinder, that's literally just what it turned into, which is like a hookup type app. And then you started to come out with like Hinge and Bumble, and then those are like supposed to be more like legitimate like dating apps. But like really at the end of the day, like to be in full transparency, like I've tried Tinder when it first came out. Sam, shut up. Then I tried Bumble, and then I tried Hinge. Now, I have not been on any of the dating apps in like a couple of years, to be honest, because I'm over it. I don't even think that it's like worth your time, energy, or attention to try and meet somebody on a dating app. Like, I just feel like it's just not even it. Like, I've had so many bad experiences that it's not like it's like been like, oh my God, like I can't believe that fucking happened. But it's just like, it's just a waste of time.
I can see you being on like Farmers Only and finding like a nice guy named like Alden, and he has like a family farm, like 10 acres, like over in the boonies here in Florida.
Okay.
Maybe some cattle.
You see like me like getting up like early in the morning to like get like the eggs from like the hen and stuff like that.
I was gonna say milking the cows, cows.
Okay.
But either
Gotcha. All right.
No, so you know what's funny? An interesting Tinder story. I mean, I have like a bunch actually. I mean, you don't become the Tinder guy without having.
I'm looking forward to learning all that I can about you, Sam. That way I can use that against you in these workout classes.
Some stories I'm not gonna go into just because, but maybe later on. But one story that was funny is when I was first became a trainer and I was working for a corporate chain gym. I feel like at one point I was like using Tinder for Tinder purposes, and then at one point I was like, I wonder if you could get clients off of here. And so I remember there was a young lady that I had matched with, and then she happened to have a membership for that same gym, and I was like, oh, okay. So she came in, and I don't think she was expecting a workout based off how she was dressed or whatever. And it was really interesting or whatever. But pretty much that. I mean, I guess the story's not that interesting.
It's not. You could do better.
Basically. Well, I mean, I'm just omitting certain details, but basically, I mean, nothing crazy happened with it, but it was just interesting because it was like she came in like it was like a Tinder date, like Tinder house date or something, but it was like she was coming in like it was like a fitness consultation or something. Like that was the premise of what we're supposed to be doing. But
okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
It's interesting.
And so, why don't you guys talk anymore, or why didn't you go down that road?
Well, because she crossed into that lane, and I was very much so a professional.
Like, gotta keep it professional. We don't mix business and pleasure together.
I don't mix business with anything.
Gotcha. So that's one of the reasons why you couldn't personally train your ex-girlfriend.
No, I could train her because she was already my girlfriend. Like she used to work out with me at my gym at one point. A couple of girls I dated, actually. All three of my last girlfriends used to work out with me at my gym.
That's
or whatever.
So nice. So cute. So cute. All right. Your turn to ask a question.
Yeah. So, Reagan, you're 25.
God. What's the question, Sam?
Clock is ticking.
The clock is ticking.
Why art thou single yourself at this point?
Oh, God.
And not pursuing a relationship in the family life and whatnot.
Okay, you say the clock is ticking, but like you're 30 and
well,
you're single.
Let me pause. Actually, the clock's technically not ticking. You need some batteries in your clock up there.
Sam, I'm about to kick you out. I'm about to kick you out. You are 30 years old and you're single. So you want to talk about me being 25 and single? That's crazy. First of all, I will tell you why it is that I am single.
Yeah, go ahead.
I will easily tell you why it is that I'm single. There's been nobody that I have met that is able to provide to me what it is that I need out of a relationship. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, financially, those things. Because I feel like I have certain levels to me that I bring to the table, and I need somebody to be able to match that. And if you can't match it, then there's really it's not going to go anywhere ever at any point.
Can we explain what these levels are?
Well, I feel like I mentioned them in a previous episode. Now, whether or not you watched the episode, that's beyond me. But like
I don't have that type of time in my day. But let's go into it right now.
You have to be attractive. You have to have money. You have to have good character. You have to be a spiritual person. You have to be family oriented. You have to be funny. You have to be empathetic and emotionally intelligent, like these things, and smart too. Yeah. So those things, because that's what I feel like I am. So I need somebody to match my fly. Otherwise, no. Like, and that's why I say, like, a relationship is work. So it's like, if I'm going to be with somebody, I need them to be able to, like, bring to the table what I can bring to the table. Otherwise, I might as well just be fucking single and just live my life.
Okay.
Because, like, I'm not pressed for a relationship. Like, I really, like, it'd be nice to have at some point in time. But, like, I genuinely, like, don't think about that kind of stuff, like, ever. Like, if there's, like, somebody that's like, oh, like, you know, you should meet so-and-so, like, you know, like one of my mom's friends or something like that, then I like meet them. But outside of that, like I said, I'm not on any dating apps. I don't really go out like that. I will say, however, though, I personally think that my husband is in Washington, D.C. I feel like he's there.
You think he's a senator?
No, I don't want to be a politician. That's also one of the things, too. I don't date athletes, politicians, or lawyers. Those are my 3 don't date lists. I don't trust either.
You think he's maybe like one of those, like, homeless dudes outside of like the White House or something?
You know,
he could be waiting for you.
He could. And you know, maybe if he wins the lottery,
well,
you know,
pause. They say a lot of those guys make a lot of money actually, and it's
homeless,
tax-free.
Tax-free.
Panhandling. When you say the guy has to make a lot of money, what's the amount of money?
I don't think you want to know the amount of money.
So he's the most successful panhandler in DC.
If he has a house,
he's getting the money.
If he's able to get a house, he's a good person, and he's attractive, he's family oriented,
okay,
and he does all of those other things, then sure.
Okay. Hey, bro, if you're out there, if you see this or hear this,
I'm your girl.
Stop her at the red light.
Yeah, stop me at the red
light. Get her
light.
Windshield right.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Well, I mean, that answered my question. I think that was very sufficient of an answer. I appreciate that. It's very insightful. Yeah,
because the majority of men out in these streets, or that I've met thus far, it's just wasted my time. So yeah. All right. And I feel like I'm not the only woman that feels like that. There are so many women out here who are just tired of the dating scene.
No, I have access to the internet, so I've definitely seen certain hot takes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is your stance on the fact that a lot of women think that is ain't shit? What is your stance on that?
Oh, you mean Nas?
Sure.
Okay. I guess one has to. So I don't agree with. I'm not a red pill community type of guy or whatever. I feel like I feel like I see like a lot of sides to different things or whatever. I will say though, the late Kevin Samuels guy or whatever, and I don't necessarily agree with all his takes. I will say one thing I will agree with that he said. I think a lot of people have to be in a position to. You have to be in a position to demand or whatever. So I feel like if you want to demand stuff out of like your potential partner, you got to be in a position to where you are able to demand something, right? Like you have to be like, if you want to basically find a catch, you have to make sure you are like the catch or whatever. If that makes sense.
Well, listen, I am, and I have yet to meet my counterpart. So it's just like, I think that there are a lot of women out here that are very much so catches. But I feel like the men out here that are catches, you know, and check off these like boxes that I feel like are reasonable to want to have a steady, stable relationship and raise a family with, are either one, not serious about wanting to get into a relationship. They're just not. Or, you know, they're wanting to keep their options open all the time. Okay. Or they're great catches, but they're already in a relationship. All right. Or yeah, that's really it. I just feel like so many men out here today, especially in our society, are just so unserious about wanting to like be in a relationship and stay committed to one woman. Like they want to explore and see what their options are, because I feel like I know like a lot. I have a lot of female friends that I feel like are worth being like in stable, successful, like healthy and happy relationships. Like they are the catch. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a woman, but just like genuinely like they doing well for themselves, like financially, like professionally, like they're beautiful, like, you know, have a good head on their shoulders, like really kind and all of those other things. So like any man would be lucky to have them as a partner, but like a lot of men don't want to just settle for one woman. Like they want to, you know, they just want to keep going and just like see what else is out there. That's like always the case, you know?
You ever had those Chewy bars growing up, like those Quaker Chewy bars?
Yeah.
So I would say the big cause of that is probably like back in the day when your parents would get you like that variety pack where you got like the s'mores, the original, the raisin, and then like the chocolate chip
Yeah,
or
you just want to
whatever.
try all of them.
Yeah, and that's the thing that probably like threw off like the mindset for a lot of like people. But in all seriousness though, I would say now I would say women aren't that far different than like men or whatever. Like I've seen women that are maybe similar in nature as well. I think it just depends on like what people value and what people what type of stuff people consume and what they look up to and aspire to, because I think that then influences how people are going to be and whatnot.
Yeah, well, either way, it's just a problem with this generation in general of just like dating. Like, you know.
I mean, I would say, so I like to read the comment sections on Instagram posts a lot.
I'm sure you do.
No, well, because I feel like it gives me a good, like...
insight into the way that the world is.
Yeah, it lets me see, like, a little social experiment to an extent. And, like, I feel like there's a lot more people that are returning to, like, more... I guess, quote unquote, what it sounds like you're describing would be more like traditional type values when it comes to relationships, at least. And I would say it seems like there's a lot more people, and like guys, which sometimes I'm like, oh, that's surprising or whatever. So I mean, there does seem to be like a little bit more of a shift than what I feel like there probably has been like traditionally, for sure.
Well, okay.
Okay.
I don't really like agree with you like at all, but like if that's what you want to believe, that's like totally amazing for you. And
thanks.
you know, I love to hear like the delusions of the fact that guys in society today are wanting to mainly take women seriously. I'll just say on a mass scale, like there are pockets full of people.
What's the mass scale that you're using?
Like the majority of society. Like I feel like the majority of women in society today want successful, stable, happy and healthy relationships. There are women out here who are just looking for casual flings and hookups and stuff like that. I'm not saying that there aren't. But the majority of people want something stable. Like they want to be committed to one person and they want that one person to be committed to them. The majority of men today, they don't want to do that. Now, like I said, I've met, even as of recently, you know, great guys and stuff like that who are, you know, wanting to be, you know, stable and, you know, have something serious. So there are exceptions to this, but on a mass scale, you just don't find that.
I would say almost the majority of guys that I know like on a more personal level, I would say are more like the people who are like on a, like would be what you're describing that you say are more few and far between. I would say the majority of the guys that I know are more like in line with wanting to have like a healthy and happy relationship.
Why is it? Because they're in their 30s?
Not all of them are in their 30s. Some of them might be 30 or like in their late 20s or whatever. But some of them maybe are older, but some of them are like people that are just super successful and they can have whatever they want, but then they decide to not necessarily be like that,
see,
or maybe they were at one point.
That's where it needs to go. You need to be super successful, but also good character, very kind-hearted, emotionally intelligent, all of those things, and want a stable relationship. But like that in a nutshell is very hard to find. Just putting that out there. But from a woman's perspective, and that's why I don't really understand like where like guys are always talking about like, oh, women are this, women are that. I'm like, there's so many women that I know out here who are like everything that I feel like a man would like want in a partner. So I'm just like, it's a little bit confusing.
Well, I think, and this isn't disagreeing or whatever. I feel like there's like two parts to response to that, but I would say that one, I think people sometimes pick people that maybe aren't the right person for them, and they maybe pick somebody that maybe they are hoping to change or hoping will change, and then it's like that person's not going to necessarily change, so then it just becomes like what it was always going to become or whatever. So I think that's like one part to it. I think the other part, based off of your specific criteria that you mentioned, or you would probably have to go up into the 40s in order to make your pool a little bit larger. Gotcha. Or whatever. But no, that pretty much answers my question.
Good.
Yeah, that was a very thorough, very thoughtful response.
I'm glad.
Reagan. And if no one else told you that on the Sunday, I'm proud of you for that. Okay.
Thanks, Sam.
Yeah.
That means so much.
I don't say that very often.
You do.
How many other people have you heard
you
me
tell
say
me
that I'm proud?
all the time during our workouts that you're proud of me.
Because I am. How many other people have you heard me say that I'm proud to, though, during
Well, I don't know. I'm not around you all the time.
Exactly. I wait till you leave the gym to then tell other people that I'm proud of them.
Gotcha.
All right. Well, anyways. So, on to the next question. Let's see.
All right. Should I do like serious, unserious?
I mean, this is wearing off a little bit, but you can ask me whatever. I mean, I'm gonna answer anyways, because I'm literally like this without drinking anything.
All right.
I will say I'm getting a little hungry, and I am starting to think about steak right now. So.
Okay, well, we don't need to be thinking about that. Every time I talk to you, see you, I'm around you, whatever, you're always talking about you're hungry. That's not my problem.
There's a Brazilian food truck, actually, and I think they're open till like 11. Anyways, go ahead.
Well, it's 10. So, do the math.
Okay, well.
All right, Sam. So, question. Why are you bald?
Why am I bald? I mean, genetics, I guess. This
was a personal choice, or was it just kind of like your hair was falling out? Like, what's the vibe?
So, I mean, I do have hair, but it's just really light in some areas. So I just do a 0 with the grain on the top and a 0 against the grain on the sides and the back or whatever.
Gotcha.
So that's pretty much answers that question, I guess.
Okay.
So it's like, I mean, if I let it grow out more, it would just look lighter in some spots. And I always said when I was younger, I was like, well, if I ever went bald, I'm not about to be like rocking a cul-de-sac or nothing like that. So I would just shave my head or whatever. So pretty much that.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Yeah, it doesn't look bad. I was just curious. Man, my dad was like bald, so I was just curious if it was like, you know, like a personal choice or if this was just like what you were forced to do. So, yeah.
Okay.
Gotcha. Well, that's my question.
All right.
So, your turn.
Oh man, now we're starting with the roast. All right, here we go. All right.
Oh God.
Let me get into my notes. Oh, what are they over here? All right, let's see where we're going with this next one. No, but okay. So, why don't you care to water this plant that's over here? It's literally dying behind me.
I know. I do water her. I water her how I'm supposed to water her. The thing about it is that she requires, like, not like a whole bunch of sunlight, but like a certain amount of sunlight. And I mainly bought her because of the fact that I wanted to use it as like a little moment for the podcast, just a little like decoration. But as you can see, the way that my apartment is set up, it's not like a lot of sunlight gets here. So I have this little contraption. You see this like tall thing with like things off to the side that like basically puts artificial light on the plant, but I don't think that that's enough. Well, so the plant has been dying. So I'm doing the best that I can. It's the effort that counts.
You want to be able to, based off what you were saying earlier, you want to be able to nurture and provide the things that are needed for your plant to live a successful and happy life. Mm-hmm. But you're just planning on letting your plant die right now.
I can't. There's nothing I can do about that because there's not enough sunlight that comes in here to be able to give her what she needs.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's just one of those things where she's just got to thug it out. You know, and I think that that's what she's been doing. I mean, I've had her since maybe like September. I mean, she hasn't completely fallen apart yet. I mean, we're withering away. But I think like she's really like fighting through it. And that's what I love about her is the fact that like she hasn't given up just quite yet. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was almost rehearsed. It's almost like do people ask you about that often?
No, I'm just like really one of those people who just like, I've just such like a way with words. Like if you ever, people should know, especially if you've like come to like my mom and my dad's like ceremonies or funerals, like I really know how to captivate an audience. I have such a way with words. I literally am one of the best people that I know of that can like write like hands down like bomb ass speech. Like I just really know how to like suck people in, you know? Like the words that come out of my mouth, it's just very captivating. Like I know this about myself. I don't have like a whole bunch of skills, but like speaking is one of them. Yeah.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not bullshit or anything that I rehearse. It's just genuinely like, that's just a talent that I have, is to be able to explain to you the life story of this plant without sounding too harsh about it, but giving like real genuine like thought and feeling behind like why she's, you know, suffering the way that she is, without making me look like a shitty plant parent.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I still sort of thought that based off of what you said, but no, okay, that answers the question.
Yeah. All right. You're drinking that quite slow, and it's not like you even taste bad. Like, I don't know why you're like
It tastes very peppery.
peppery.
Did you put pepper in there?
No, it's vodka, this like blood orange like type like juice, then like rose simple syrup. And then I think I had a little bit of lime juice left, so I added that to it. It shouldn't taste peppery.
It's a little peppery.
Okay.
Interesting.
Whatever. Anyways, your turn to ask a question now.
I thought I literally just did it. Oh, maybe I was answering the question.
Asked. Yeah, you answered the question.
Okay. All right. This one's a softball one right here. Oh, actually no. This one's actually.
I feel like all the questions that you've been asking have been softball questions.
No, this one's not. All right. So, your dad was an attorney.
Yeah.
What made you decide to go into like what you ended up going into and not going into like something of that nature of a field?
Law.
I was going to ask the question of a certain way, and I was like, that's going to sound super disrespectful, so let me not word it in that.
You could have just said, why didn't you want to go into law?
Well, I was going to say like, I wasn't, no, because that would have sounded really bad. No, so I was just choosing a different way to say it. But anyways, why did you choose not to become an attorney or like go for like attorney, doctor, like one of those like higher,
so like to seek higher
degrees?
Education, like get my master's,
like go
or
for
PhD
one of those,
or something like that.
Well, you don't need a master's and PhD to be an attorney.
You need a Juris Doctorate.
Yeah,
so you're just saying why didn't I go? Okay.
No, yeah, like why are you doing what you do for your career instead of going for like one of the
Gotcha.
like
Well, seeing the life that my dad had as a lawyer, I don't like to read things that I don't choose for myself. So like in being in law, you have to read a shit ton of cases, go through all of these briefs, like nitpick and pinpoint at all of these different loopholes, and you know, whatever information is being provided to you, like it's hours and hours worth of just like, you know, trying to bring up a solid case based upon all this information is bringing to you that you have to read through. And I just don't necessarily want to do that. Like I, you know, only like to read things that I feel like I'm picking out myself, whether those be like self-help books, like on like finances, like, you know, growing and developing as an individual, like whatever the case might be, or like my friends are telling me now that I should like get into like reading more like romance books, but like, or like nonfiction type books or whatever. Cause like all I ever read are like self-help books. Like that's all I read like ever. But just, they were like, you should like switch it up and like do something like a little bit fun, like, you know, and not have it be so serious all the time, which like I understand, but, that's what I use like TV for. Right now I'm like really into like watching Sex and the City. Like I've seen it so many times, but it's just like me going back through it, just such an iconic show. But anyways, I digress. So yeah, so I don't like I wouldn't want to do all that reading. Then it's just like a lot of freaking hours. Like even one of my line sisters who just recently graduated from law school, she's constantly working. Like it's so hard to get in touch with this girl. Like I completely understand she's busy with work and everything, but it's just like, I don't think that I could live that life of just like feeling like, you know, my life is being consumed with work. Now I can only speak from like my dad's perspective of like knowing how much he worked, but like he was gone all the time, like, you know, whether that be like in court or, you know, staying late at his office, like finish cases or whatever the case might be. I don't want to live that life. I like having a structured, like, you know, set routine of like, hey, like this is the time when it's time to work and this is the time when it's time to enjoy my life. And, you know, I work in corporate America. It's not like I'm an investment banker, because investment bankers work crazy hours. So that's separate. But what I do, I work your standard 9 to 5. And even like with the job that I have currently, like it's not like I have to like be on like, you know, at strict hours during the day. Like the previous manager that I had, like she was kind of like, as long as you get your work done, I don't really care what time you log on or log off. Like just make sure you get your shit done. So I like that flexibility. And then I can have time to record this podcast, because I feel like if I was a lawyer, and I was working all the time, I wouldn't have time to, pursue my side hustles, hoping that eventually this will take over, the income that I'm making currently at my corporate job. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it seems like you feel like if you were to be more self-employed, if you were doing like a podcast or something like that, you feel like you would still be able to have like a bunch of free time like how you do now?
Yeah, for sure. If I just solely had this podcast to focus on and not like another job, I would have a shit ton of free time, because even now, like 9 times out of 10, this episode that we're recording is going to turn into 2 episodes. So, this is just one night's worth of work that's going to last me for 2 weeks. And then, I could say, like if I had like blackout curtains, I could record at any time during the day. So I could literally say, from 8 to 8 p.m. one day, I'm going to sit over here and record. Like, I'm going to bring in all these different guest speakers. Me and my sister are going to sit down, whatever the case might be. I can knock out at least like a month and a half's worth of episodes or probably even more in one day. So I wouldn't feel the need to I would have so much free time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So it's getting a little long at this point. So we're going to break this up into 2 different episodes. We're going to do a part 2. So I'm going to stop it now. So tune in next week for part 2 of me and Sam's episode. And we'll be wearing the same outfits and stuff like that because it's the same night for us. But so tune in next week. We'll see what more is to come. Like I said, I have no idea what his questions are. He has no idea what mine are. So genuinely, I really have no idea how this conversation is going to continue to go. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it thus far, and we'll continue to tune into part 2. I don't necessarily know if you like him as a guest star, but if you do, tune back in. All right. See you guys next week. Bye.